This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Greetings, Dogpound Nation. Welcome to the Two Green Browns podcast, now part of the Big Head Media Podcast Network with myself, John Cahill. And today I'm joined by my friend Chuck Fillick from the most awkwardly named podcast in the world. Chuck, give me the name.
Yes, talking sports stuff and things with
There
Chuck.
you go. There you go. I knew that, but I knew I was going to trip over it, so it was better to have you to do it. How are you today, Chuck?
I'm doing well, trying to recover from yesterday, of course, as I'm sure a lot of people are. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
And you were first in the queue, Muni Lot Again?
Yes, first in line again. I don't know why I continue to do this to myself, but yes, I was first in line, got my spot that I always like to get hooked up in, and got rolling early. I mean, like always, got rolling early.
What's so magical about that spot, Chuck?
It's just what's really cool is when I show up there and I see the lines going up and down the highway and down these side streets, and everybody's waiting to get into the first Muni lot. I guess easiest way to refer to it. I simply go right past the line of cars and pull right up to the gate, and I'm first in line just for the very second Muni lot, which is literally feet, just literally feet away from the first one, and they're all connected. You can walk from one to the other; it's no problem. So. I end up still being first in line to get into the second lot. So by the time I'm parked and I get a good spot where I have a nice extra grass area where I can put my tents and my cornhole boards and all that good stuff. But by the time I'm already parked and I got all my stuff set up, the people I drove by are still in line simply because they want to be, 100 feet more to the north. So it confuses me, but hey, that's okay. They can keep it up because then I can continue to get to where I need to be. So.
Once you get your spot, Chuck. What was on the menu yesterday? I'm asking all the important questions first, Chuck.
Well, yes, of course. This is much more important than what else we want to deal with. But so yesterday on the menu, we did a lot of times we do breakfast. We skipped breakfast yesterday. We went ahead and breakfast was just with the those 12-ounce breakfast cans. So we started with that for breakfast, and then we did some cheddar cheese brats for like a kind of a late breakfast, early lunch, and then for the what we want to get right before we get into the game is we make something we call an Ohio burger. I don't know 100% if anyone else made these before. We've been making them for years, but an Ohio burger consists of course, your hamburger, your burger patty, and then you put the cheese on top of that, and then on the grill beside the burgers as I'm cooking, I cook hash brown patties. You then take the hash brown when it's cooked, it goes on top of the cheese. And then to top it off, we have a secret sauce that we call pepper butter. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like a sweet, spicy type sauce, but it is the cherry on top that whenever somebody has one, they can't get enough of it. I literally ran into somebody last week in Charlotte, North Carolina, who I didn't even recognize him, didn't know him. He came up to me and said, "Hey, I tailgated with you a couple years ago up at the Muni lot." I said, "Oh, cool," and he said, "You made these burgers." It was the first thing the guy said to me. A guy who I didn't know who he was and I haven't seen for 2 years. First thing he brought up was the burgers. So they're a big hit, but that was the main menu yesterday.
A big thanks to Jared Mueller from the OBR for sharing that with me yesterday. I got everything except smell-o-vision. I got all the views. I got all the views. So yeah, I was actually, you've answered the question. I was actually going to ask you what was on the grill beside the burgers. The pictures I was getting from Jared, it looks like to be something that I would call in some cases superfluous vegetable. But I'm sure it all goes well, Chuck. I'm sure it all goes well.
Yes.
Anyhow, enough of all that good stuff. You get into the stadium, you're all excited for the game. The first, let's say the first 20 minutes of the game, we're going downhill. The wind is in our back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we're excited no matter how upset I am at the Browns or what they've done to me in previous games or whatever. Yeah, when the game kicks off, man, I'm at 100. I'm up there. I'm flying high, and the way the game starts, I mean, the place is just rocking. The stadium was absolutely electric. Everyone's losing their mind. I'm losing my mind. I mean, I'm going crazy. And it's just, you just felt, here we go. We're full steam ahead. We finally got it. Look at this. We kept saying all we got to do is put it all together. And after that ugly San Francisco loss that we wanted to get out of our system, it looked like we did. And that first instance of the game, man, we were up and rolling and thought that this was going to be it.
And like I have, I don't know, and it's a weird feeling today. Like I went into hiding last week. I switched stuff off for a few days. I couldn't deal with it because of the performance was that bad, But today I don't have that because the performance wasn't that bad. The performance was there. At one point I thought, oh my God, we're going to run away with it. You know what I mean? I thought we were going to canter away with the game. Then reality started to bite in. The turnover started to happen, the block punt, and realistically, on an overview of the whole game, the game looked to have hinged on a handful of turnovers and a block punt. Was that a fair assessment from inside the stadium, Chuck?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination. Like you're right. Definitely, the turnovers, of course, are just. I mean, that goes without saying that they're just going to bury you, but. What I see now, and this is definitely what me and a bunch of people sitting around talking about at halftime, where I was extremely frustrated was, right before the half, we have that ball down there where even if we settle for a field goal, we're up by 2 scores. And, Freddie just insists on throwing the ball in that scenario. And I'm to the point, like, I'm a very optimistic fan. I'm always the guy, like, as you see, I'm sure all the time on social media, I'm the guy that I attack the people who want to talk negative because I'm always like, I'm the guy that's standing up for us regardless. But with that interception, granted, the throw wasn't the best and what have you, but we never should have been put in that scenario, in my opinion. And these are decisions that, like, the first time it happens, it's like, okay, young coach, he's going to learn. And then the next time we make another excuse, and I'm starting to run out of excuses. And I don't want to be that guy, but Freddie has put me in a situation where I understand you want to score as many points as possible, but in the scenario we've been in after getting waxed the last week, and then, as you said, we were running downhill with the wind at our back. To me, you just got to hand that ball off to Nick Chubb. Use your timeouts. We had all the timeouts. If you needed them, hand the ball off to Nick Chubb, run out the rest of that second quarter. And if you have to settle for the field goal, fine, so be it. But you're up 2 scores now. And my goodness, what a swing that interception did. It just absolutely was kind of the beginning of the downfall.
If Bill Belichick comes out and says, I thought we were going to score a touchdown, get the ball back and score a field goal within 90 seconds, you might think, okay, we have, a chance of doing that. For Freddie to come out and say that after the game, to be honest, I actually couldn't believe it. That 10 or 14 point swing, whatever way you want to look at it, at that point in the game, it's pivotal. It's absolutely pivotal in the game. It's like going for it on 4th downs. I do agree with the going for it on 4th downs in most situations. And we knew that's what we were getting with Freddie. We definitely knew that that's what we were getting. But the game management, the time management, coming up to halftime in the last 2 games has been poor, very poor, and it has left us in a situation where we are like losing 7, 10 to 14, whatever points of a differential that we could have had. So that is definitely something we're going to look at, I'd say, over the bye week. What do you think? I suppose the game as a whole, Chuck, and the result disappointing and all as it was. Baker Mayfield didn't play terribly bad. I know 3 interceptions, but I know we can make an excuse for every interception that's ever made, but 1 interception, receivers crossing on the route, another interception that was tipped and hit Jarvis on the hands, another interception which Hillard really should have caught. Nothing that was downright stupid.
Right. No, I agree. I think he played pretty well. Of course, when, the stats are stats, and when you watch these, as I was this morning, watching some morning shows and, reading through, the stat, it's, Baker threw these picks and it's the red zone interceptions. And you're right. Like, when they're hitting off of their hands, I would say what really questioned me is when it happens and it is an interception. There's, as you said, we can make an excuse for any of them if we want. But I almost think too, and I don't mean to jump too far ahead, but, at the end of the game there, the most important possession of the game at that point became when we had that chance to come down the field. And I question why we have Dontrell Hilliard lined up at wide receiver and we're throwing the ball to him, and that the most pivotal spots. And that's the person that is even on the field. I don't even think he should even be on the field in that scenario. Our backup running back is the guy we're going to throw a slant to when you need it more than ever. And I guess what bothered me even more so about that was I read this morning that Higgins said he doesn't know why he didn't play. Apparently after the game, he told some, I guess, reporters or whoever that he said he felt he was ready to go 100% and they didn't activate him and he doesn't know why. And I sure would have rather thrown that ball to Higgins than I would Dontrell Hilliard in that situation.
Yeah, I don't think I'd get terribly exercised about Rashard Higgins. We had Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. We have Callaway. We have receivers. We have receivers. Ricky Seals Jones catching touchdowns. Demetrius Harris catching 2-point conversions. We have players to catch the ball. We have a good 6, 7, 8, 9 players, I would imagine, in the queue ahead of Dontrell Hilliard in that situation. So, look, I suppose overall for the game, wasn't terribly hot on all the play calling. There was no one area of the game that I felt we were terribly poor on. I think that the game could have been called better. Some players could have played a bit better, and a good team came in and played well. Russell Wilson played very well. Russell Wilson managed his team very well. And like those guys, they don't have OBJ, Jarvis, whoever. But Jaron Brown, because we had attention on Lockett and DK Metcalf, Jaron Brown was just the open guy and he threw the ball to the open guy. Reminds me a little bit of the Browns last year when we were thrown to the open receiver when he was there. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, I think whilst I don't think Freddie was completely out-coached in this game, unlike the last game where it was quite apparent, I don't think Pete Carroll came in and took Freddie to school on any sort of level at all. But I think we left the game on the field.
Yeah, I think that yesterday was probably maybe the first time where it was very apparent we were missing our starting corners. I really think Denzel and Greedy could have made a really big difference yesterday, because Russell Wilson at times, especially off of that, my goodness, that I had nightmares last night of Russell Wilson doing a play action rollout and just finding a wide open wide receiver in the middle of the field. It just looked like it was on repeat there for a while. I really think maybe Denzel and Greedy could have made a big difference yesterday in stopping some of that bleeding that Russell Wilson, for a while there, was just in such control.
That's an interesting point, actually. I did a review with Neil. I've recorded a review with Neil already. And I asked him that specific question, like, was this the first game that we seem to appear to miss Greedy and Denzel Ward to a point where in the past few games, I don't think the drop off to Mitchell and Carey has been as bad as we may have thought. But then again, I think we were getting so busy getting gashed up the middle on run plays that no one was terribly concerned about guarding the lines. And this was the first time, I think, maybe that, I suppose, specific instances like, is Russell Wilson going to think a bit harder about throwing fades outside if Denzel and Greedy are out there, and to give him a little bit more to have a little think about those throws. Like, I think Russell Wilson, for all the pressure we got on him, 3 sacks and everything yesterday, he appeared to have all day in the pocket, and he appeared to have all day when he escaped. And I think that comes to downfield, as in, like, there was no pressure from the corners to, like, in coverage. So, like, he appeared to have a bit of wiggle room every time he got out of the pocket. But yeah, it was kind of like a lot of pressure, but we didn't make it pay.
Yeah, 100%. We definitely didn't make him pay. And I guess I feel that roll out of the pocket was just buying him way too much time, where of course, anybody's going to pick anyone apart in the NFL once they have that kind of time. But you're right. I mean, it felt like we did a decent job with the pressure. I mean, they did kind of run on us a little bit there. I don't know. It's kind of seemed like that was hit or miss, I suppose. But I definitely do attribute it to Greedy and Denzel, like you just mentioned. That was the first time we noticed it. Because, like you said, the drop-off that we initially thought we were going to have just wasn't there. I mean, at first it was like, oh, my goodness, both these guys are out. People are just going to pick us apart, roll all over us. But Carey and Mitchell and everyone else, stuff that they've done great. But Carey did struggle yesterday. I feel like he probably had his poorest game up to this point.
He was joint top tackler for the day, Chuck, and that surprised me. TJ Carey and Whitehead on 9 tackles, I think, for the day, because he was essentially anonymous for most of it, so I have to say that did surprise me. I think Carey moving back into the slot with Greedy and Denzel back is going to suit him. Like it just he's not an out and out outside corner or even near it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see coming up. So Chuck, after here we are now, 6 games in the bag, start of the season, you're sitting down there with your schedule. Where did you genuinely think we were going to be after these first 6 games?
So in my mind, I was just thinking my schedule game went completely haywire to start the year, when I definitely was counting the Tennessee game as a win. So that's where I all went wrong. I guess I tried to contribute it to, I thought, okay, we're beating the Titans, we're beating the Jets. Like those 2 things are going to happen. Quite honestly, I had us beating the 49ers. But the 49ers have obviously come out and shown that they are not the team that I thought they were going to be. I don't know where everybody else was with the 49ers. They obviously are right now showing that they are very formidable. That defense is ridiculous. And Jimmy Garoppolo is just great at managing the game and doing what he needs to do. So I would say, I guess I was hoping in my mind I was thinking 3-3 and 4-2 was a possibility, is where I thought we could be after the first 6 games. That's kind of where I thought. So I thought, like, if we won yesterday, I was going to just, talk myself into, this is great. Such a tough stretch that we were going to be starting the season up with, that 3-3, 4-2. So I was going to be totally good, but I definitely didn't see 2-4.
Yeah, no, I was sort of in the 3-3 bracket at best, to be honest myself. From what I was looking at, 2-4 was a little bit unpalatable to think about. Which I didn't really think. I don't think there was any of us thinking about being 2-4 really now at the moment. Everyone being honest and all as they are. We want to put our realistic hats on here now, Chuck. We're going to roll into the Patriots. We are going to be massive outsiders in Foxborough against the Patriots with the number 1. Say when, like, what I look at our strength at the moment, I look at that we can get that offense rolling. If we can get rolling like a couple of quarters, like we had in the first quarter and started second quarter yesterday, we can offer up something. We're going up against the best defense in the league away with. Now, Tom Brady, I'm not so worried about. Well, when I say not so worried about, not as worried about him as I would have been 4 or 5 years ago, but still, they're going to manage their own offense to within inches of their life. They're going to take whatever we give them, and they're going to take it, and they're going to make hay with it all day. So to come out of there with a result, I think, is a big ask. So we realistically could be looking at 2-5. Now, Chuck, that leaves us 9 games. To get realistically. What will we be wanting there, Chuck? 8 wins?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, unfortunately, looking at the Patriot game, I'd probably be looking at it a little differently had we pulled yesterday out. But then with those poor decisions that we already spoke about, I can't see us being able to steer that back to just, okay, well, we're going to go into New England and we'll just, score 35 and hold them to 20 and, so be it. So like you said, realistically, say we're 2-5, 9 games left. I mean, I think if we're looking to make the playoffs, which of course is what we're looking to do here, I think the worst you can do is 7-2.
Yeah.
I would think that's like the worst. Yeah, I mean, you have to go in there thinking we're going to win 8 games, and I don't know how I feel about that right now.
Yeah,
that's a tough ask.
I have to say the optimism barometer has leveled out a fraction. It kind of gets knocked out of you after watching the repeats, every week.
Yes.
But still not undoable. And here's the thing, Chuck. You reverse that schedule. Now I know this is revisionist and coulda, woulda, shouldas and all that, like. But if you reverse that schedule and give us Miami, the Bengals, Arizona, and that Baltimore game or whatever, like, give us 4 or 5, we could be the team there at 4-0, like, you know, or 4-2 pretty easily, whatever. But then we get the shit run and we get ourselves thumped at the back end of the season. Maybe it's just maybe, if we're going to get better as a team, that this is the way for it has to happen. Unfortunately, and I used this analogy with Neil in one of our last podcasts, and he shot it down. But I really do feel that Freddie's been handed the keys to a Ferrari, and that, you know, he's being expected to drive it. I don't think he has. I don't think he has a year to learn. You know what I mean? I don't think he has. Like, this isn't a write-off year. You know, like we're not in a building year. You know, we have all the toys now. You know, and now is the time that we need to be winning games. I'm not going to. I'm not going to try to throw the ties out of pram if we finish this season 8-8. But it will be a failure. It will be a complete and utter failure to go 8-8 this season, and people may have to be held accountable. But being held accountable and, you know, looking to get rid of the coach after the first 3 or 4 games now, that are very different things. I'm hoping Freddie gets the ship steady, gets the boat pointing in the right direction, and we can go on a run. And I think we're very capable. I think there's a couple of banana skins. The Broncos, the Bills. The Bills are an incredibly tough team at the minute. I think they are in an inflated position for where they should be. I think I think they're beatable, but and their defense is pretty elite. But I think we can get after them. I think the Broncos are a banana skin because a lot of their games have been 1-score games and stuff that they lost narrowly and have been hanging in. They've been hanging into a lot of those games. So I think they're going to be difficult to go and win. But after that, like, we need to be sweeping the board, Chuck.
No, 100%. We definitely have to be sweeping the board after that. And you're right. I mean, if you were to flip this schedule around, you know, I mean, how many times have you seen it that all this time we watch football, every year there's the team that starts out 5-1 or whatever the record is, and then, you know, you look at them later in the year and they're 5-6 or what have you. And a lot of that does play into this exact schedule situation. Now, revisionist history, we go back, nobody cares about that after the fact. You know, we look at it now during the season, and you know, we're viewing those teams as, hey, look, we're playing the Cardinals and the, you know, so like you meant on and on, that the Broncos, we have the Bills, these games that we're looking at it thinking, hey, these are the games we got to win these now and get on this stretch run to end the season. I think what maybe we forget to do is that I think if we were to put the shoe on the other foot, I think that those teams are saying the same thing about playing us. Now, I do agree totally with your assessment that Freddie has been handed the keys to a Ferrari, and right now he's looking like a guy who maybe he's only driven a stick shift once or twice in his life, and he's still trying to learn as he's out there on the highway, and he's in second gear and he's trying to figure out how to get the third and fourth gear. And like you said, I'm not looking to throw the towel in on the guy. I'm upset with him. I'm upset with him right now. But, you know, in regards to him and Baker, you know, I think if you look at this, so Baker's played, I believe, is it 19 games? I think it is. He started 18 or 19 games, whatever it is. So he's had 3 different head coaches in 19 games. You know, that's a tough ask for anybody, let alone a guy who basically has now played 1 full season, you know, just a couple games past. So this guy is just out from being a rookie. And he's had 3 different head coaches. That's going to lead to these type of struggles that we're seeing right now. These are the things that are going to happen because of that. But, you know, me being the positive guy, you're right. I will be back on board with, look, coming up are these teams that we can and should beat. We will be the favorite in some of those games. We're obviously not going to be a favorite after the bye week. We're definitely going to be big underdogs there, but we need to right the ship there. And I just really think it leads to, it's going to start, unfortunately, with look, obviously, if we beat the Patriots, you know, we're all going to be on the moon again, going 100 miles an hour. We're going to be just loving ourselves, calling out for the Super Bowl all over again, like everybody likes to do. But yeah. I just don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't think we are. So the coming few weeks, Chuck, what are the coming few weeks hold for you? I suppose the trade deadline's coming up to the end of the month, isn't it?
Yes.
So have you a shopping list for the trade deadline?
I want to have a shopping list. The thing is, if I did have one, mainly where I'd be looking at is, I would say I'd love to maybe have a little bit more linebacker help. And then, of course, the easy thing to say is offensive line. You know, offensive line is where we want to look. But The problem is the shopping list is very bare. It's so easy to sit back and say, we need to trade for an offensive lineman. Well, last I looked, there's not a whole lot of teams that are willing to give up, starting caliber offensive linemen that we'd be happy to trade for anyway. Everybody likes to bring up Trent Williams from Washington. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen. It appears that Washington is just absolutely steadfast in not trading that guy. And if we did trade for him, I still don't know what I'd want to give up for a guy that's his age. And also, I believe this is the last year of his contract. So you don't have a lot of leverage there. I think the Redskins probably have, I don't know, I guess maybe it's split them out. I think about it. The Redskins don't have a ton of leverage, but I don't know. I don't have a big shopping list because, as you already stated, if you looked at our team, my goodness, the weapons are everywhere. Where we're lacking, offensive line, of course, is the easy answer. And I just don't know that there's any players on the shelf I want to go grab and put in my shopping cart right now.
Yeah, and I kind of like, if you bring in a linebacker there now as well at the moment, that's Mac Wilson off the pitch, and he's getting great experience there at the moment. And well, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit late. I think it's a bit late for adding players into the mix. Like, there may be someone out there that they can add that may add value. But when you're talking about tackles, like if there was a magic pill in the morning to, put in a right tackle and a left tackle that were elite onto that O-line, yeah, we'll take it. But it's not there,
No.
it really isn't there. And like I've heard so many times before about the line play, we don't need an elite O-line. We need an all right O-line. We need an O-line that, gives Baker the 3 seconds, whatever he needs. We need an O-line that can create the lanes for Chubb. We don't need the best O-line in the game. However, all that said, week after week, tackle play really, really is something that, we're looking at. We're always looking at right tackle, left tackle, fouls, plays given up, soft plays given up, having to have tight ends in blocking, blah, 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 week in, week out. We're having these conversations. So in a long-term basis, I'm hoping that that's maybe what we're looking at in the draft next year. I'm hoping we're looking at a couple of tackle prospects early in the draft, and we can solve that problem long-term. Because as we know, Chuck, you can't just solve a problem like a quarterback or a left tackle by just getting someone in, like Brock Osweiler or, Brian Hoyer or whoever.
Right. No, 100%.
These problems don't just go away. As I said, there's something that you have to plan and you have to manage for. But in saying that, O-line played okay last night. Okay. And that was really where you needed to be. But again, if you're to talk about, tackles were where the problem kind of lies. Anything else outside of the Browns holding your attention for the next week or two, Chuck? What will you concentrate on Ohio State next weekend, or will you take in NFL?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think after probably today, I'm gonna have to hop on and I'm gonna record some stuff to get even more stuff off my chest. Just, I can hopefully feel better and just put some stuff out of my system, so I feel better about voicing it and getting it out. And then I think, I probably need to remove myself from the Browns here for at least a good week. I kind of need to. They got me pretty riled. They got me rattled and shaken. So I definitely need to concentrate somewhere else. So yeah, definitely will. Ohio State will be high on my list. Missing them, I kind of, Saturday, kind of forgot that they had a bye week until the morning. And I said, oh, shoot, it kind of changes my whole weekend plans. But yeah, so I'm going to definitely get back into getting a lot of college football in. And of course, playoff baseball just is always exciting to watch. I know you're still young in your baseball life, so you're still getting that going. But I do love some playoff baseball, so that'll have my attention too.
Baseball for me at the minute, Chuck, is solely Indians based. I follow some of that Dominican League stuff, and that there's a couple of good accounts on Twitter where you can follow the Indians guys. So it's pretty much solely based down to the Indians for me. I did witness the Braves getting their asses handed to them in the first inning the other night. What a weekend for Atlanta. The Braves shit in the bed. The Georgia getting beaten by, and only reason I'm exercised about this is that I had 25 quid riding on an accumulator, and I needed Georgia. I had all the favorite teams in college football at the weekend, and Georgia screwed me for 25 quid. So yeah, I was familiar with that. And then I haven't got around to all the NFL highlights, but I believe Atlanta screwed it up on a PAT or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I stay in bed today if you're down in Atlanta. don't venture outside. And one last thing before we go, Chuck, before we wrap up. Well, two last things. My friend Neil, my co-host Neil, is heading over for the Bills game, so I'm going to need you to look after him. He's going to have an Irish flag wrapped around him, and he's going to be speaking with a very thick, slurry kind of Irish accent, I'd imagine, by the time you come across him. But if you're tailgating, count him in for one of those Ohio burgers. And I also have him warned that there is a potential at your tailgate that Hansen might be played, and that if he is subjected to Umbop, he has my permission to go for the speakers.
Well, I will. I'll be sure to look after him. I definitely will treat him to an Ohio burger. Look after him, and I'll be sure to guard the speaker when I get the Umbop rolling.
Is Umbop definitely going on? Definitely going on, yeah.
Oh, it's gonna have to now. It's gonna have to.
Right. I think on that bombshell, we'll leave it for today. That'll do it for today's show. Thanks very much to Chuck for coming on, and thanks very much to you for listening. Please pass on the pod to your friends by retweeting. If you can rate and review, that'd be great. That'd really help us out. Follow Chuck on Twitter at ChuckGoBrowns. You can follow myself at JohnCahill_IRL and Neil at Jim Custard. And until next time, go Brownies.
Want to know what life is really like after the game is all over? Real athletes are here to share their true stories of adversity and triumph every week on After Orange Slices. Even if you don't like sports, pro athletes, former college stars, celebrities, coaches, public speakers, doctors, and all kinds of experts join the show, and there's a little bit of something for everybody. Join me, Bridget, for a slice of inspiration, plus your everyday sports news sprinkled in. New episodes every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, available anywhere you get your podcasts.